Hi everyone, today we are here in the city of Porto to present you our projects about the port wine and its entrance in the international market. We're here next to the most emblematic blocks of the city, as they were used to travel from the Alto Douro to the city center just to sell wine.
The main objective of this project is to find a way to successfully internalize the sale of port wine, and that's what we're continuously working on here at our university.
In order to widen the range of our research, we decided to do an interview with Pedro Crespo in the Real Companhia Velha. I hope you like it.
So as much of you are aware of, I'm going to do a project in my class of international relationships, and my job is about port wine and exploitation of new markets. So for those who don't know, I'm going to now interview interviewee. That's called Dr. Pedro Crespo, who works at Real Companhia Velha. Thank you very much for accepting my invitation. So for a little context, could you tell us a bit what differentiates port wine from other wines and in the national, international context?
Okay, so port wine is a kind of wine that is fortified. You see, in the wine field we have different kinds of wines. The wines that we know the most are the table wines, those wines that we like to have with meals or with kind of meats. But port wine is a special wine produced only with the grapes from the Douro wine region. See? And the Douro wine region was also the first appellation region in the world. And the beginning of the wine region is also really connected with the beginning of this company itself, because it was the prime minister of those days, the Marquis of Pombal, Marquês de Pombal, like we see here in our country, was the one that started the appellation and the regulation of all Douro, you see. And he did that alongside with the king, Joseph I. And it was Joseph I that established this company by a royal decree on the 10th of September of 1756. That's why the 10th of September is the National Port Wine Day, because it marks the birthday of our company, now Real Companhia Velha, that was born with the name of Companhia Geral da Agricultura das Vinhas do Alto Douro, and still maintains that name in terms of institution. But going back to the port wine making, we use just the grapes from that wine region. They're really well taken care, they are very well selected. And then we stop the fermentation early in the beginning. And we stop the fermentation with a wine spirit that can go as much as 77% alcohol. And when you stop the fermentation in the beginning, you can maintain all the natural sweetness of the wine. But also the wine will remain quite strong. And port wine can have an average of about 20% alcohol. Because it's such a strong, sweet wine, is not the wine that we like to have with meals. That's why port wine is known for being much more of a dessert or an aperitif kind of wine.
Okay, that's very interesting. I actually didn't know it was Marquis de Pombal that had created the Real Companhia Velha. I had no idea. But going back to the topic of my work, which is international market for the job, do you have any idea of the markets that port wine is currently?
Okay, so going back to the history again, because Portugal is much about history. The first data that we have goes back to 1678, when the English started to sell and to provide our wines to their own markets and to themselves. You see, but then when this company was established, we changed the way that the English used to make business. And so we started to make port wine a much more of an international wine. We started work firstly with Brazil, then with Russia, and nowadays you can find port wine all over the world. Okay? But in terms of Real Companhia Velha, we still maintain a big influence in the Brazilian market, also in the markets of the United States of America, Mexico as well, and all over Europe. Spain, France, Germany, and then we are starting to make good business with China as well, and we are expanding our business to other countries.
Okay, that's very interesting. But tell me something that is like the main theme of our work I'm doing with my friends, because we're a group. I'm just here doing the interview to like compartmentalize the tasks. So tell me, what is the market that Portugal wine is not to and should be, or a market that he is but is not as strong as he could?
Okay, so in terms of market and production, port wine is not, I mean, how can I put this? Nowadays we don't produce port wine as much like we used to do before. See, port wine is not the one that we like to have every day. So we try to diversify the market, and we'll try to select the product that we want. And depending on the type of port that we are producing, we will select a different kind of market, you see. For port wine you have different kinds of ports. You have white ports, also we have rosés, they are quite recently. But then you have two different classes, rubies and tawnies, you see. Really different in flavors and in qualities, you see. So usually a public that knows port wine very well, we will sell our most intense ports, like the vintage, like the special single harvests, or the aged tawnies, to those markets. See? And then the other ones, like white ports, ruby ports, or standard tawnies, we will try to sell those ones to the markets that are really early in the, that arrived really recent to the port wine business. But going to a particular public itself, we can go to the English. See? The English, besides the Portuguese, are the ones that know port very well. See? And they know what kind of port they like. So we will really manage this in a very careful way. But in our company, we don't have the English market as much as the other companies, because all the other companies are mainly English. You see, you also can find some other Portuguese, but our company was the first Portuguese and is still Portuguese. It's owned by a family, the family Silva Reis, ever since the 60s. And of course, because this is a very traditional company and has real strong bonds with our old markets, we still maintain a really big connection with our markets, especially the Brazilian, where we sell all of our wines, not only port but also table wine that we are producing way more.
Sure. There's something just you told us before that I think it's quite interesting. You said China was starting to arrive in the port wine business. Can you explain a little more, please?
Okay, so as you know, China is a country with a really big and fastly growing economy. You see, so of course you need to adapt, and you need to work with new markets. Last year we had here the Vice President of China. Like almost every month we receive public from China and also special clients from China. And we have special brands, port and also table wine, that we are selling to China now. So far I don't have numbers to provide you of how many bottles we sell to China or how many liters we sell to China, but we know that is a market that we are working with, and we have a high board of our company that she used to live in China. She speaks Chinese, and I think is a good thing for us, because when you speak the language and when you know the country, you know the people, you know the market, that's a very good thing to have in your company, in your team.
Okay. Just for our my last question to do you, because I think it's one important thing to know and to people to be aware of. It's what do you think are the cultural aspects, like age, or for example, I don't know, in the countries that Portugal wine is more strong in, do you think are more relevant to the consumption of the wine?
Okay, so for my knowledge and for what I've heard so far, sometimes we have people here that find port a kind of old man's drink, you see, and
yes.
Port wine is really reinventing itself. Nowadays it's really common for you to have really modern advertisement for port, Also, we start to make cocktails with port, like the port and tonic and others. So, and also our brands, our shape of bottles, our products are changing. But we never change the core of port. This is the heart of port. We remain everything like we used to do more than 200 years ago. But we are adapting to change that aspect of thinking that port wine is a wine for old people, or is a wine for only special occasions, during Christmas, during marriage, or birthday, Easter, or other special events. So we are working with that, reinventing port and starting to put port in their own way, changing that pre-data way of thinking.
Okay, thank you very much for our presence in our in my work in our podcast, and I think it was very interesting. We discovered quite new things. I discovered quite new things that I didn't know about port wine, and I think my work will be quite easier now. I thank you all for listening, and we'll see you in our next podcast.